So let me get this out of the way right now. I don't hate Deku. I think he's one of the most well-written characters of modern shonen. He is the epitome of the motto, if you work hard, you can achieve anything in life. If life keeps beating you down, you keep getting back up. It doesn't matter if you were born powerless or talentless in comparison to others. You can cover that gap by just working hard. He's such an inspirational character, and it's that character which I feel is one of the main driving forces behind My Hero Academia's explosive popularity during its early run, and set itself apart from not just the overpowered main character-filled anime scene, but also the overexposed superhero scene in Hollywood. He was also a quiet and really smart kid who analyzed both his friends and opponents, both to form game plans and to improve himself, which is a far cry from the usual screaming obnoxious idiots slash dullards who basically just scream louder and punch harder than their enemies to win fights. He never doubts his friends and always has their back, even if they are absolute pricks to him. Not to mention that Deku, while being a good person and heroic, wasn't a goddamn idiot when it came to villains, unlike other shonen protagonists. Yeah, he will put his life on the line and break his own body to save anyone, which is cool in its own right. But he also wouldn't try and talk no jutsu a villain. He understood a bad guy was a bad guy, and even if he sometimes sympathized with them, he would still beat them up and defeat them. There was no, "Oh, I defeated you, so that makes us friends" trope here. He understood that some crimes are just too big to look past and forgive. And that's refreshing in a shonen protagonist. I mean, he is basically Rock Lee, except instead of being chakraless in a world of ninjas, he was quirkless in a world of superheroes. As a Naruto fan myself, I was pretty excited as I assumed Deku was gonna be like Rock Lee and Asta, someone who had no quirk and yet would still be able to keep up with the rest of the cast through sheer hard work, determination, intellect, and ingenuity. And then he got powers and immediately lost 80% of what made him a cool protagonist. And from there, it all went slowly downhill. Hi, it's Tiger&Teddy, and we're here to discuss why Deku, while being a great character, is a bad protagonist. And we'll also reveal who should have been the protagonist of My Hero Academia according to us. Mind you, this is all just personal opinion, and if you agree or disagree, please let us know in the comments down below. Also, spoilers for the anime and slight spoilers for the manga. Now, let's go over Deku's problems as a protagonist. This may seem weird after I just spent the first half of the video praising Deku's character, but for every good trait Deku has, he has an equally bad one. It's like the law of equivalent exchange. First off, the fact that he got powers while awesome initially has massive dire consequences down the line. Throughout the initial episodes, we are led to believe that the show is gonna focus on him becoming a hero, despite him not having any powers by using his analyzing skills, intelligence, and hard work. I wouldn't have minded him being sort of a Batman-style hero, where he used his gadgets, martial arts, and street smart to keep up with the other heroes with quirks. I mean, Batman is popular for a reason, but no. Instead, he gets All Might's quirk within the first 3 episodes. But you know what, the way they went about it was still interesting. The fact that his body couldn't keep up with his quirk and kept breaking down, meaning he had to train his body to the point where it could eventually accept his quirk. The fact that he still had to use his analyzing skills and intellect in his fights because his body would break down after a few hits was still rather unique, and still kept the core value of what the audience expected initially. Deku felt like a unique character to the show, again with his own unique struggles. At least he would have been, if not for the fact there are many characters in My Hero Academia who share similar struggles and is handled much better with them than with Deku. So first we got Mirio, with his dangerous and potentially fatal permission quirk, which he had to go through hard work and a rigid training regimen before he was able to finally completely master. Much like Deku's quirk. Hell, he even became quirkless for a bit, and his character development is similar to that of pre-All Might powered Deku. Hitoshi doesn't have a flashy physical quirk, he can only control people with his voice, which apparently is lame, according to the entrance exam people, the cocking idiots. Hence, he has to use his wits and intelligence to keep up with the other heroes to prove that he can keep up with them, much like Deku. I mean, even the hard work stuff. Every character is regularly shown working hard and training their bodies to improve their quirk. Only difference is they are more entertaining to watch, and even their training is much more entertaining to watch than Deku, whose only problem was me punch hard, me arm break, which gets boring to watch after a while. I could go on, but you get the point. My Hero Academia boasts some of the best supporting cast in all of Shonen, but it's also a curse, as they more often than not overshadow and devalue the protagonist due to having better executed storylines, better character traits, and being more entertaining to watch. There are times when you forget that Deku is the main character or that he even exists in the show. Speaking of character traits, let's talk about the big one, the goddamn crying. Now look, the crying itself isn't really a problem. I am of the opinion that boys should be encouraged to cry and express their feelings instead of repressing them, as it is much healthier for everyone involved. And I applaud My Hero Academia for creating a character which showcases that. But Jesus Christ, tone it down a bit. Hell, most shonen protagonists have cried. It's almost a rite of passage, and those moments have done nothing except enhance those characters. But the thing is, they only do it once in a while, in key pivotal moments. But with Deku, it's all the freaking time. Any minor thing happens, he just starts bawling his eyes out. When Luffy and Naruto cried, I felt something, because usually when they cry, it's because of something emotionally pivotal and adds more emotional weight to the scene. But with Deku, since he cries all the time, after a while it just has no emotional value. The audience doesn't feel anything, they just shrug it off like, oh, he's crying again. Cool, moving on. What could be an impactful emotional moment is ruined because the effect of him crying is dampened due to overexposure. Crying, like any other narrative device, is effective when used sparingly. It's a minor nitpick, but all of these adds up to it just being really annoying and in turn making Deku seem more whiny and annoying than he actually is. And it's not a good sign for your manga when your main character comes off as an annoying whiny wimp, which, if you read the story, he actually isn't, but that's how he comes off. But you know what, we could overlook all of those problems, because at the end of the day, Deku was still at the same level of his peers, keeping up with them through hard work, intellect and determination. Apart from All Might's strength quirk, nothing was gift-wrapped to him or handed to him. Mastering his quirk, keeping up with his peers, defeating enemies, everything that he achieved, he did so through his own hard work. As long as nothing happens that fundamentally changes that, Deku is still at the very least a good, relatable protagonist. Oh, Deku just unlocked Stage of 6 Parts mode. He now has 6 more quirks. He's basically more powerful than any other hero and has basically piccoloed his entire class. Or better yet, All Might couldn't unlock this power when he had one for all. Only Deku can because he's special that way, I guess. I see. The show has officially jumped the shark. At least when Naruto did this, it was towards the end of the manga. This was one of the worst creative decisions that could have been made, and it permanently damaged Deku as a character to no fault of his own. The story did not need this. And if you're one of those people who argue that he needs all 6 of those quirks because, all for one, the main bad guy is more powerful and has even more quirks, then stop. Firstly, you can still have a fight with a villain with multiple quirks using a hero with just one quirk if you write it well enough. Or you can have it be multiple heroes versus the villain. And secondly, this is important, just don't write an overpowered villain. If you don't know how to beat him, just don't write him that way. You're in control of the story, including the bad guy, so why? You just mother at yourself. I'm not alone in not liking this, as this moment in the manga seemed to be the breaking point for many people, as they dropped the manga at this point. Of course, the story arc it was in was also very boring, which contributed to it. Even sales figures corroborate this. The manga went from being in the top 3 to meandering in the bottom half of the top 10. This also irreparably damaged Deku in the eyes of casual fans as well. I actually feel bad for him because he did not deserve this character execution. The thing is though, this plot point can still work. Hell, this whole story can still work if the perspective was shifted. Deku's entire character and story arc will be much more interesting, entertaining and effective to watch if the perspective was shifted. You don't even need to change the story details, just keep it intact. The perspective I'm talking about is of course the perspective of my man Bakugo. If he was the main character instead of Deku, all of the problems I just discussed would be solved. It will also make the story stand out, be more unique, and have much more interesting character dynamics due to Bakugo being the main character. We wouldn't even have to change the story at all, just the point of view character. Hear me out. Imagine if we started off by following Kid Bakugo, right? Baku Kid, who from a young age is being praised and doted on due to being born with this very powerful quirk, Explosion. Everyone puts him up on a pedestal and feeds it in his head that he is a shoo-in to get into UA, the most prestigious high school for superheroes. Due to this, he develops a superiority complex against every kid in his class, including the loser kid with no quirk, Midoriya, whom he starts bullying heavily. This includes chucking Midoriya's notebook into a fountain, almost destroying it and giving him the nickname Deku, which roughly means useless plank. We also see the scene where Midoriya tries to help him when he falls into the river and him refusing help and lashing out at him. Now, if you think that a main character who starts off as an asshole and a bully wouldn't work or that it wouldn't be a good read, I would argue that Koe no Katachi, aka a silent voice, is proof that such a character can work as the main character. This is also where we explore the fact that All Might is Bakugo's favorite hero, and also one of his inspirations to become one. This becomes important for him later on. Anyway, we get to see him go alone and fight the sludge monster guy and be defeated and almost killed, when Midoriya, the kid he looks down on for being weak and quirkless, heroically risks his own life to try and save Bakugo, even after all those years of being bullied by him. This both shocks and pisses Bakugo off. They are eventually saved by All Might. A couple of months pass after this incident and Bakugo gets into UA, but he's shocked to discover that Deku has also made it into UA And more importantly, he now mysteriously has a new powerful quirk. Granted, that quirk destroys his body every time he uses it, but still, the person who he thought was beneath him is now standing with him side by side on an equal level, and that pisses Bakugo off to no end. Now, I would play off Deku getting his quirk as a mystery that we the audience along with Bakugo slowly unravel as the show progresses, as that would make the story far more interesting as it adds a layer of mystery to it. This also makes Deku a very interesting and unique rival character, as even after acquiring a powerful new quirk and after all the bullying he received from Bakugo, he still treats him with kindness. Bakugo also discovers that while he was a big shot when he was young due to being one of the few people with an amazing powerful quirk, in high school, he's just another fish in the pond, as everyone has quirks on a similar level to him, meaning he isn't special anymore. Which, by the way, is something most geniuses in high school go through when they enter college for the first time and realize that all of their peers are on the same level as them and it mentally affects them. Moreover, due to Bakugo being hot-tempered and not an easy person to deal with, he is sort of ostracized by the rest of the class. Well, more feared by them than ostracized. While Deku is loved by everyone he interacts with and easily becomes the center of attention, much like Bakugo was during their younger days. Deku also defeats Bakugo using his intellect in a couple of training matches. All of this affects Bakugo deeply, seeing Deku, a guy who he looked down on and bullied for all his life, actually being better than him at everything. Hell, during the sports festival, where even though he wins, it's only due to Todoroki losing his will to fight after fighting Deku, and basically offers Bakugo a freebie win, which Bakugo despises. He becomes a unique kind of antisocial loner and can go through an arc of trusting people and becoming friends with them again, like with Kirishima. The breaking point is when he gets kidnapped by the League of Villains and has to be rescued by Deku, Kirishima and others. During this, All Might gets revealed to the world and loses his power, causing the world to be without their number one superhero. Bakugo blames himself for being weak and causing the world to lose All Might. Even though this wasn't in the manga, you could also have an arc where Bakugo comes to the sad realization that almost everyone, excluding a few of his classmates including Deku, actually believed that he would join the League of Villains due to his personality. This is what people in the real world actually theorized would happen when that chapter where he got kidnapped came out. That Bakugo would be like Sasuke and Deku would have to be like Naruto and turn him to the good side. This saddens Bakugo, as he always thought that despite his attitude, people knew that all he ever wanted to be was a hero like All Might. Worse is that Deku was one of the few people who believed in him. This is also where he puts together along with the audience that Deku got his power from All Might, his childhood hero. It pisses Bakugo off that All Might and Deku are close and that he has put his entire trust in Deku. The two have that famous fight in the school grounds and Bakugo becomes a slightly better person for it. And well, you get the idea. The main story would be a lot more interesting and entertaining with Bakugo being the point of view character. He fails a lot more, but that only makes watching him succeed all the more enjoyable. Like him being one of the only two people to fail in the hero provisional license exam. His character development is also more entertaining to watch, as we get to see and follow a borderline despicable character grow and mature into an actually good friendly human being. Even Deku unlocking the Sage of Six Paths works now, because that just gives Bakugo an even higher goal and hurdle to strive towards. Bakugo being the main character would also make Deku less annoying for the general audiences and actually intriguing and lovable again, as one, he would have an air of mystery around him due to him mysteriously having a quirk, and two, in comparison to Bakugo, he's a really good salt of the earth kid. Watching Deku being a good kid and a good friend despite being bullied by Bakugo is touching and heartwarming. His sudden power boost wouldn't be a problem as well. He is the rival character, so he can be as overpowered as you want, because that just gives the main character a new power level goal to achieve. Also, slight spoilers in the manga, but Dark Deku and Bakugo apologizing while being jaw-droppingly awesome moments would be much more effective if Bakugo was the main character. Hey, I'm still of the opinion that Horikoshi Sensei should do what Stephanie Meyer did. Release something similar to Midnight Sun. You know, Twilight but from the perspective of Edward. Similarly, he should release My Hero Academia but from Bakugo's perspective. My Hero Bakugodemiya. So those were my thoughts on the matter. I would love to know what you guys think. Hell, I would love to know what people who still love My Hero Academia, like Chibi Reviews, Rogers Base, or anyone in the Reverie who thought this was the #1 manga of the year, think about my points. So leave a like if you enjoyed this video, comment down below if you agree or disagree, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.